The Manili Bell Foundry began in 1826 in the little village of Gibbonsville, New York. We call it West Troy today, and it's on the west bank of the Hudson River, just a few miles north of the capital of Albany. But how it really began to grow and expand is because it was just south of the Mohawk River, which was the eastern terminus of the Erie Canal, which was completed in 1825, and as we know, really opened up trade and commerce to the western part of what was then the United States. And by the early 1900s, the Manili Bell Foundry had bells all over the world. You could hear them ringing in Scotland, France, England, Germany, Australia, India, even South America. The Chestnuts gifted the bells to LABC in the summer of 1941, just a few months before the U.S. entered into World War II after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. They did so after returning from a trip to England, and the Chestnuts so loved hearing the bells in the English villages. We're told that they wanted to bring that feeling of community and togetherness here to their community, Danville.
I was raised here, and I remember the hardware store, Chestnut Salter Best. Well, I started walking 2 or 3 years ago in the cemetery because it's nicely shaded, etc. And I saw John A. Chestnut's huge mausoleum in the Bellevue Cemetery. So it got me to thinking, that's the man that put our chimes in this church. So that's when our chimes kind of went south, and I started doing more research and thinking, you know what, his name is on a plaque in the front vestibule of this church. I wanted to make sure that we got those bells back up and going in his honor.
Mr. Chestnut was a founding member of Lexington Avenue Baptist Church in 1927. He served on the Board of Deacons, and in 1950 he was actually elected honorary life chairman of that same body. Mr. Chestnut also taught the same Sunday school class here at Lexington Avenue Baptist Church for 43 years.
On August 24th, 1941, the bells were dedicated. There were 3 services on that day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one that evening. Dr. C.C. Warren led those services. He was the pastor here at Lexington Avenue from 1928 to 1938, but he came back here in 1941 from his church in Little Rock, Arkansas, to lead these services.
The program from those initial recitals gives us a glimpse into the great musical legacy of our church. We've tried in this morning's worship service to recreate some of the musical moments from that day in 1941. Even some of the hymns that we're singing this morning are the same ones that they sang when those bells were shiny and new.
In 2020, we had activated our annual maintenance contract with Bearden, and they had come in to do their annual inspection. The service tech that came in went up into the tower and was totally alarmed at what he found. What he found was that one bell had completely fallen from its bracket and lodged in the tower against another bell. And from that point, we got into the disassembly of the bells in the tower in July, and all the bells were removed and taken back to Cincinnati. The steel structure holding the bells up was also moved and taken back because it was beginning to get a lot of rust jacking between pieces of steel. So that turned around to be done up there. And what they did up there was they sandblasted all of the metal structure down to clean metal, removed all the bell hangers, which had to be mechanically drilled out in order to release the bells from the hangers. We did have to totally reforge one of the bells totally because it was cracked from top to bottom. They melted it down, reforged it, tuned it to the note that it rings, and from that point they've been in the tower. Daniel, our music minister, has been playing up a storm.
First of all, I want to thank our congregation. You have been instrumental, I get cold chills when I think about it, in getting the bells back. I've been a member of this church since 1954, and it's just wonderful to hear the bells ringing again. Congregation, you've been great. We have sent letters out to the community. The newspaper, in the form of the Advocate Messenger, a former student of mine by the name of Robin Hart, and her compadre by the name of Olivia Moore, they have written articles on the front page of the Advocate, which has helped us with the community We've received money from neighbors, the community, former members in of this congregation. It has all been because of you that this process has taken place. We have raised thousands and thousands of dollars, and we don't owe any money on this process or on the new control board. It's all done and paid for because of you, our congregation.
I would like to thank the committee that was organized, the committee containing Beverly and I as co-chairs, Fearless with Godby, Jan Edmonston, and Dwayne Campbell. I think Dwayne and I have taken kind of a back seat to the whole process. I would like to give a lot of praise to the three ladies on the committee. They had spent hours and hours up here addressing envelopes, checking names and addresses and all that kind of stuff to make these mailings go out in super form. I just want to say thank you to those three ladies.
We've been so proud of what has happened just in this past half of a year with us being able to raise money to fix these bells. And we know it's important to our community because numerous donors and even physical neighbors of the church have commented about missing the sound, missing the bells, and now even they're commenting about how they have missed the bells and they're glad that they are back. The bells do symbolize, at least to me, stability and tradition of this church, something that's been here for a real long time. They were built in difficult times, and we are blessed to be able to restore them, hopefully for another 80 years.
We hope that these bells are around for another 80 years, so Fred and I can celebrate our 75th wedding anniversary here.
It's my prayer that the bells continue to sound forth into our community, that we are here, that we are still a loving, caring congregation who cares about our community and cares about spreading the gospel of Jesus Christ.
My hope is that may the refining and fixing of our current bells last another 80 years, and they will be able to ring well into the next century.